Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Racing Debrief. And oh boy, do we have a good weekend of racing to go over. Of course, we have F1 returning, and we have some more NASCAR racing, the Cup Series, final regular season race, and also the Xfinity Series at Daytona with the Cup Series. And the Truck Series took on the Wanyá for the first time since 2009. So let's get into it. Let's see. Let's do the F1 side first. So, like I've said it before, I don't really get the opportunity to watch as many sessions as I did before. But to watch the full race. I mean, I've seen some things from qualifying. The gap that Max had over all the drivers was pretty insane. And in practice, of course, Daniel Ricciardo breaking his hand. Very unfortunate situation there. I feel like he probably made the right decision in that split second. When you come to that corner, there's a car there. Put it in the wall. He didn't get his hand off the wheel in time, though, so he got that break there, which is unfortunate. I'd imagine he's probably going to be out for Monza. Maybe, again, do a return in Singapore. I've been seeing a lot of that. So, again, Singapore is a few weeks out. I believe that's 3 weeks out. So something like Singapore is doable. Let's take a look here and see what it says. But Singapore is middle of September. So I mean, that could be doable. I definitely think by Japan he'll be back, but yeah, very unfortunate to see that. For the race itself, of course, very, very chaotic at the start. We had a, real wild start. I mean, first lap, kind of dry. By the end of the lap, it's a downpour. Or not downpour, but pretty substantial rain. Track's wet at that point. Most drivers pit by lap 2 or 3. We see Checo go from 7th to 1st, being ahead by 15 seconds due to the fact that he pit for the inters a lap earlier than a lot of the drivers in front of him did. Everybody gets on inters, and you see Max back up to second. He's starting to chase down Checo, and the track starts to dry. In there we have Logan Sargent crash out, unfortunate there. But track starts to dry, and we see Red Bull do a switch. They get Max in first if he passes Checo. Not surprised with that move. Of course, you want to stir up some drama and be like, oh, why'd they do it? It's obvious. Red Bull's at a spot they want Max to get the record, so why would they risk anything or anybody in front of him? It's Checo or not, they want Max to win. They want the record, for these wins. That's what Red Bull wants. They want records. They want that type of stuff. And, going for 9 in a row, they've had their driver do it once. Why not have another one of their drivers do it? And given the potential to go for 10. Of course, Sebastian Vettel didn't really get that opportunity because his 9 came at the end of regulations, so the rules changed, and Red Bull didn't have the best car in 2014. So he was hurt by that. Max in a spot that he can go for 10 in a row. That's doable, so why would you risk that? You got to get him to 9 before you can go to 10. So you have that. The race starts to dry out. Track, kind of just becomes a normal race. Ferrari does their thing, messing up Charles Leclerc. He ends up retiring the car, and then you get towards the very end of the race, and it starts to rain again. Light rain, heavy rain. You have Checo spinning out. He's able to go and recover. Lewis drives off the track. He's going around the gravel. You have Zhou Guanyu into the barrier. You get a red flag. And at this point, I'm behind, actually, because I didn't wake up at 9 o'clock to watch it. I was set it till 3:30 streaming. So it was one of those things that I didn't actually watch it live. So I'm fast forwarding, we're going through, and the recording ends. Disappointment. Right after the red flags ought to be lifted. Didn't get to see another restart and any of that. Let's go online, see Max wins, all that stuff. Eventually, after watching the truck race, I was like, wait, let me go check, because I watched on my phone, right, the first time through. So I had on the TV, I was like, okay, let me just search through. Oh, Dutch Grand Prix. It's here. And I was just talking to my parents. I was like, oh, look, see, this is where it ended. And I was like, wait, it's podium celebration. So I go back, watch it all, watch the podium. It was just really, really cool, to hear that excitement of, Max getting that win that you get in the commentary. I feel like, first of all, I like the Sky broadcasting better than the F1 people themselves that they have do it on F1 TV. And those are the ones that F1 obviously uses for a lot of their clips. So that's what I've seen. And it's like, oh, Max wins. And then, obviously, it's cut up. But in the moment, seeing the Max gets his 9th win at the Dutch Grand Prix, pretty cool. So, next up is Monza. See what happens there. I mean, the Red Bull's a very fast car. It's a very fast track. We'll see if Max gets number 10. So let's jump to NASCAR, and let's go. Do we go in order of the races? I want to do Cup last, so let's do it in series order, which is going to have us jump around from Sunday to Saturday, or Sunday to Friday to Saturday. So, trucks at Milwaukee. Milwaukee's a track that, oh my god, bruh. You don't want to make it difficult to open, huh? Heineken Silver, why not? Send it. I don't give a shit if YouTube gets mad if I'm drinking on video or not. They can demonetize this video. So, Milwaukee, what happened there? It was one of those things that Milwaukee kind of just happened. It was very strange to have the truck race on a Sunday after the Cup Series had a race on Saturday night. So that vibe was weird. But, I mean, Milwaukee, it was cool to be at a track that's that old, that has historic. I believe it was one of the first tracks in America, if not the first one. It's close. I think it may be the oldest track. Nope, that's not what I wanted to see. See, a lot of these are like horse racing. I know the horse racing is before car racing, but if I look up oldest NASCAR track, it's going to be like Darlington. So, let's look up Milwaukee Mile then. It's the oldest operating motor speedway in the world. Yeah, there we go. It was hosted at least one auto race every year from 1903 to 2015, except during U.S. involvement in World War II. So, all but 4 years? That's pretty cool. So, Milwaukee Mile, I mean, just from the fact that it's a historic track, I think it's cool to embrace the historic tracks and race there and obviously not let them be abandoned and, go away. I think that we've seen that with North Wilkesboro coming back. That was obviously a track that was abandoned, was left to just fall apart. And seen that be revived. And, obviously Milwaukee Mile is in that situation, but, it doesn't have NASCAR or IndyCar at it. Like, you're at a spot where that could happen. So, very cool to see at least the NASCAR series there. The racing, I mean, you had some exciting moments. Again, the trucks for me this year haven't really done it, so I'm not really the best judge how it was. I would like to see Xfinity at it. I think Xfinity at Milwaukee Mile would be cool. Of course, they used to race there. So, bring that back. But Milwaukee Mile, interesting track. Grant Enfinger wins, advances to the next round of the playoffs. So, Xfinity Series. That had the 100-lap race at Daytona. And feels like it was a while ago. Especially after the Cup Daytona race. The Xfinity race seemed relatively calm from that standpoint. Of course, we had some crashes. But just obviously the situation of the wrecks that we see in the Cup Series make the wrecks and what took place in Xfinity not as wild. Of course, we had a few big wrecks. Austin Hill doing his thing, pushing cars at the front of the field, taking them out. He caused a pretty big crash with that push of Trevor Bayne that he had. That's where the moment stands out for me. I'm trying to really... Oh my god, I should have... What happened in that race? There's just a lot of crashes. There's a lot of crashes. Of course, coming to the end. I was trying to get into the playoffs. Parker Kligerman did not push Sheldon Creed because he didn't get a push. Cole Custer, because Parker Kligerman's in the playoffs against Riley Herbst. So, Cole Custer's not going to help somebody beat his teammate. And then Cole Custer didn't get the push there. So that was one thing. So Justin Allgaier win. Sheldon Creed very, very close to beating Allgaier at the line. One of the closest Xfinity Series finishes ever. But really, those are the things that stand out for me. So yeah, really the main things I want to get to the Cup race and talk about that. That had only a few cautions. But boy, when they had cautions, did they go wild. So at the beginning, you had stage 1, relatively calm, kind of single file at the top of the track. Down towards the end of it, again, you had going double file, and you got Martin Truex to win, stage 1. Stage 2 was pure chaos. From the beginning, you have a lot of the cars 2, I went a 3 wide for a little bit. Of course, it starts to settle down. We start getting into the, 2 wide racing. And as we get towards the end of the stage, I believe it's coming to actually the green and white checker flag for the stage. Christopher Bell gave Ty Gibbs a push. Just a little wrong. In the set of a big crash, Ryan Blaney hit on another wall in turn 4. And the way that barrier moved, damn. The safety features in the cars and on the track doing their things. Blaney hit that wall at very high speeds, and he was definitely shaken up after that, and you can see in his interview. But big crash. It took out a bunch of cars. I think the total of that was up to like almost 20 cars, which was similar to what we've seen in the Xfinity race towards the end. But the Xfinity race isn't the playoff cutoff race. This is the cutoff race. So a lot of guys were taken out of it. You seen Chase Elliott slip there, and I was like, oh, God, we're going to get a Chase Elliott win. Please don't let this man get in the playoffs. But yeah, I was obviously disappointed in the crash. I was like, oh, we're going to get Ty Gibbs maybe to win the stage. But unfortunately got taken out and missed the playoffs due to that wreck. He was right there on the cutoff. He was, after stage 1, the only driver that could beat Bubba Wallace on points. Suarez was close, but he didn't get points. And I think he was already down by like 42, so I would have put him down by 52. And Bubba maybe got stage 1 points, so Suarez was taken out of it early, just from that standpoint. He was in the must-win category. Ty Gibbs got crashed out, so Bubba was in a good spot. Win the race yourself, or get a new winner, right? Or, one of the guys that isn't eligible for points. One of those scenarios, Bubba Wallace is in the playoffs. Easy as that. Came on to the end. We're getting down right to the very end of the race. And Ryan Preece gets spun. Flies through the grass. Flips over 10 times. Which is absolutely insane. Watching that wreck. Oh my God. That one on the list of wild wrecks that I've seen in racing. They're just like, holy shit, that was wild. Lots of times during the racing, there'll be some things that I'll be talking to my parents about it, right? Telling them different stats. I mean, I'm looking through the stuff all week, right? I'm on the stuff for the racing consistently. That's pretty much what I'm doing if I'm not watching racing, working, or making videos, is looking at racing things. So, a lot of little details, stuff like that, we might have just been talking about who's in what position or whatever. But you see him flip, and when that car starts going through, just silence. The broadcast is silent. You see the car there. Yeah, that was a wild moment. That's probably in the top. I have a top 4 list of wild ass wrecks that I've seen, in races like that I would put in like that level. But yeah, that was just scary. And you get Dale Jr. to come on the commentary. He's the first one, starts talking a little bit about it. And you see the whole safety crew get there right away. They're always on it. Shout out to them. Pull up, and eventually Ryan Preece gets out the car, standing there. So that was brilliant to see. And then he gets taken to the infield care center, put him on a stretcher, take him there. Then at the end of the race, they said he's going to the hospital. And then later he put out a tweet just about, he's coming back. Basically, he's like, "No, I'm back." And then announced sometime Sunday that he's out of the hospital, going back to North Carolina. So that was brilliant, but definitely a scary few moments there between watching the flip and seeing him out of the car. Nervous moments for sure. So, back to the race, though, which just added to it. Kevin Harvick being in the front. I want him to win so bad, dude. Oh, man. Like, every year, obviously, and all the time, you want your favorite driver to win. But this is the first time I've ever experienced my favorite driver in their final season, right? That's not something I've experienced. And it's very weird to go through and be like, they're done after this year. Like, that's it, right? Normally, okay, you didn't have a good season, you're back next year, right? Kevin Harvick didn't have a great 2021. He'll be back in 2022. We'll get another one, right? This is it. Richmond last year could be the last win that Kevin Harvick's ever had. But I wanted to go with a win. You always want to see a driver get a win in their last season. Jeff Gordon getting a win in 2015 was brilliant. Tony Stewart getting a win in 2016 was brilliant. I was really hoping Dale Jr. would get a win in 2017. Really, at Talladega in the fall, I was like, get a win. And he was right there at the end, and fortunately didn't. Jimmy Johnson in 2020, I was hoping for a win. So you always just want to see, like, the driver, especially the greats, like those drivers are, get wins in their last year. And I just want one more Kevin Harvick win, man. Like, that's it. That to me, it's all that matters is the next 10 weeks. The championship, I don't care. Genuinely, to me, it doesn't matter. I want a Kevin Harvick win in one of the last 10 races. That's all that matters. So you come to the line at the end of the race. He's leading, and I'm like, oh boy, this could be it. And he's holding off Chase Elliott, who I don't want in the playoffs. I want this man not in the playoffs. Get this dude out. That way the Chase Elliott fans can go cope for an entire weekend. Or entire off season. A whole playoffs are going to have to cope. So comes down to the end. You got the RFK cars at the top. They've been strong. I also did put money on Brad Keselowski winning, so I always do with the super speedways. Coming to the finish, I was like, oh boy, Kevin Harvick's got a shot. I got a shot to win some money. Let's go. Bottom line didn't get going as well. Top took off, and I could feel they weren't maybe racing aggressive. After the two crazy wrecks that we've seen during the race, understandable. But yeah, it just came down to the end of it. Chris Buescher's in the lead. Brad Keselowski seemed more than content to push his driver to victory. And yeah, Chris Buescher got a third win. So very, very impressive. Chris Buescher out here, 3 wins on the season. Looking like a championship threat, maybe? Who knows? But yeah. So wild weekend of racing. Next week we are back with some more racing. The Xfinity Series and Cup Series takes on Darlington. F1 heads to Italy to take on Monza. So with that, thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you guys in the next one.